Are you sober and isolated? Are you sober and in a protest? Are you sober and the world is on fire? Yeah, me too. This is a podcast where we talk to various people from all different walks and all different lengths of sobriety about how they're staying sober and sane, ? During these trying times. This is Sober During Crisis. Okay, I have to start with an apology. I haven't put up an episode in 2 weeks, and there's definitely good reason for it. I've been stewing this over in my mind almost nonstop. At this point, it's like I just gotta rip the Band-Aid off, because, like, the world is not gonna go back to not being on fire. After this episode, I'm gonna go back to normal programming, keeping in mind everything that's going on, just knowing that people still need to stay sober, and ultimately, you gotta keep your sobriety first. If you're not sober, you're not going to be able to make any changes in the world. If you're not sober, you're not going to be able to sit in your discomfort and make the changes that you need within yourself. You're not going to be open to having conversations with people of different mindsets. You know, for me, I have a lot more energy now to actually talk to people that I disagree with without getting angry. I'm ready for those conversations. So your sobriety comes first, no matter what. I'm going to stutter through a little rambly mini episode, guys. I don't care. I don't care. I have to just put something up at this point. And this podcast is bigger than me. It's bigger than how I feel about what's happening in the world. It's designed to keep people sober. And a big part of why I was hesitant to put an episode up is that I know politics or whatever you want to call the fact that Black lives actually do matter, whatever you want to call that. If it's politics, fine. It's controversial, and people that I know are on all sides of this. We'll share certain views, but then there's a misunderstanding about what defund the police means, and I hear in AA a lot, don't bring politics into it. I'll never forget one time I was at a meeting in Knoxville, Tennessee, and some dude started ranting about Obama, and the whole room just shut him down and was like, we don't talk about that here. And it was interesting to me because I'm like, here I am in the heart of the Bible Belt. I'm in Knoxville. I'm not even in Nashville. I'm in straight up Knoxville, Tennessee, in a church. And this dude's getting shut down for ranting about how bad of a president Obama is and all this. So, when I heard that, to me, it set the example that, like, that's not what you bring into the room. And I think it really, to me, does go both ways. Like, in the past 2-3 weeks worth of meetings, I'm hearing a lot of white people go, I fucking hate white people. And I'm thinking to myself, like, one, that's really not a productive stance. Like, that, like, I know our food is mad bland, and I know, like, but like, we're still a part of this country, and you being white and saying you hate white people because you think it's like the trendy thing to do, like, you're not actually talking about any of the, like, shut up and pay attention, And I realized the irony of me being white and ranting. I've had to just come to terms, like, it's been weeks. I can't just sit up in my room and be depressed about the fact that I'm ignoring the podcast I've been trying to build, But I gotta put something out. So let's do it. Here's where I'm at. I didn't even write this down, y'all. I'm free balling. I think that you got to put your sobriety first. Regardless of everything that's happening in the world, you have to put your sobriety first. Your sobriety comes first. End of story. I don't care what you think, what your stance is. Put your sobriety first. All right? And then if you need a vent about politics, I would suggest, and I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on anything, and I haven't emphasized that enough in these little intros. Like, I'm just a person with almost a year of sobriety hanging on by the seat of my pants and trying to figure out how I'm going to stay sober through COVID and through everything, just like you. So I would say, as a non-expert, do not go into a 12-step or some kind of a fellowship and start ranting about politics. It's not going to help you stay sober. Find somebody that you trust and call them and talk to them one-on-one. A lot of people I'm seeing are just like, they've been so riled up for weeks now and just not letting themselves de-escalate and I definitely am one that falls into that trap a lot. So I'm really trying to pay attention to how much time I'm spending on social media, how I feel, like just monitoring and self-regulating my emotions as I'm on social media, thinking critically about what I'm reading, doing my own research, but then also taking a step back and going, wow, I'm real hyped and angry right now. You know, so and so's status really just punched me in the gut. Like, how can they be so dumb? How can they be so ignorant? But I have to step back and say the serenity prayer to myself. Like, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. That includes the people I cannot change. The courage to do the things I can. So the courage to say what I can say, what I have discovered through my research, what I know from personal experience. I'm white as they come. I'm straight up. My stomach looks like a piece of copy paper, dead ass. So like, I still need to shut up and listen. I don't know what it's like to be a person of color. I don't even know what it's like to be a cis dude, you know, like I can't act like I have perspectives that I don't, but with the perspectives that I have more knowledge. I did Teach for America. They make you sit through like mad hours of really taxing and emotionally draining, but really, really important diversity discussions in which you have to challenge all of your assumptions. You have to shut up and listen and realize like, oh shit, like I actually like don't know anything about this, so like I gotta just like step back. And honestly, y'all, like if you're not for the Black Lives Matter movement, if you're still somebody saying all lives matter, like just read like 1 or 2 articles on it. Like you will understand why you sound ignorant when you say all lives matter. Like like you will understand. Like if you look up recidivism in the US, redlining in the US, like these are things that like they don't teach you in schools. The Tulsa massacre, I mean, we did not learn about these things in schools. You have to do the work on your own. You have to understand the systems at play here. You know, a lot of people keep talking about there's good cops. Yeah, okay, I know cops too. We all know cops. The thing is, the system is mad broken, and there's so much evidence of it. So what I can do is say some of these things and then not react out of anger or fear when somebody comes at my throat for what my experience and research has taught me. Yes, shutting up and listening when I need to, but also for me, it means taking that leap of faith, taking that plunge and speaking truth to power to people that like don't understand what's happening. Speaking of experiences, real quick, I do want to talk a little bit about how I know for a fact the justice system is broken with my own personal experiences. And, you know, this anecdote, to me, this is my frame of reference when it comes to police and the justice system. And it's that I have a dad who is straight up a menace to society. Like, he has had $1 million bail twice. That is hard to do. And yet every time he gets let out on good behavior. And let me tell you why. He was a defense attorney. He's now been disbarred, of course, because he's had multiple felonies, etc., etc. But he goes into jail and he trades his legal knowledge for cookies and protection. And he uses his legal knowledge to help Black, brown, and impoverished human beings get the justice that they otherwise can't get, either because they have an absent or overworked court-appointed attorney or because they're fighting within the system. So he's actually helped multiple inmates settle with settlements because COs, correctional officers, are abusive and get away with it a lot. So because he has this legal knowledge and because he's in there helping people out, he keeps getting let out. And they continue to release this man who is violent, who has robbed probably hundreds of thousands of dollars from women. He's beat a lot of women. He's a dangerous dude. Like, he is like an FBI agent walked into my classroom in my first year, or it might have been my second year of teaching, and was like, "Miss Buxton, can I talk to you about your dad?" And it was, you know, I was getting tailed by FBI agents because they thought I was harboring a fugitive. This dude lied and said that he was coming to stay with me in Nashville. I mean, part of why I moved so far away was to get away from the chaos of my childhood. And so, you know, they keep letting him back out, and it's because he's using the system against itself. He's not being reformed in jail. I don't know many people who still think that jails actually reform people. So to me, it's the same logic. Like, how can you actually think that our justice system is making a difference for the good and we need to uphold and protect it? It doesn't make any sense. They keep letting this dude back out. And yeah, I might be because he's white, but I honestly think whatever your race is, if you were an attorney and you have, you know, like an influential personality, kind of like he is kind of like a cult leader type personality. Like, Yeah, he's a whole situation, and I don't really talk to him anymore. But there's a lot going on there. So what I'm saying is, like, he needs services. He's got mental health issues up the wazoo. There's just so many ways that I wish when he came out of prison, he actually had the supports and structures he needed to be successful in society. I wish prison actually reformed people. I wish cops were doing good work. He's gotten beat up by a lot of off-duty cops. And I'm not saying that's right, obviously, but it is one of those things where it's like, that's the justice system. It's dirty, it's crooked, it's all over the place. And he's come out every time on good behavior. He skipped parole 3 times. Why do they keep letting him out on parole? Well, from what I can gather, it's because he's in there helping people actually get justice. With my dad, substance abuse definitely does play a part. I mean, there is undoubtedly a role that drugs and alcohol play in his behaviors, in his violent everything. Like, it's, I would say 1,000,000% the result of drugs and alcohol. So I wish that he could get the help that he needs. I wish he had people to talk to about how they're staying sober. And I wish that the justice system worked. I wish that prisons actually did reform people. You get institutionalized and and it's like, then you can't come out and be successful because you're more successful in there than you are out here. I know a lot of people like that. Same with, honestly, I know a lot of detox hoppers, right? We all do. People that they just keep going to detox, keep going to rehab, and they just get so used to that life of, like, relapse, go to detox, go to rehab, relapse, go to detox, go to rehab. And to me, that's, we need to give people skills. We need to give them coping mechanisms, support. And I say all this knowing, like, I haven't talked to him. And honestly, this is a perfect example of put your own mask on first. If you can't breathe, then you're not going to be able to help the person next to you get their mask on. So here's me. I'm putting my mask on first with this. And speaking of masks, man, I mean, going back to the serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So knowing the difference for me means telling the people in my life, you need to be wearing a mask to stay safe and to keep others safe, and then letting go of the outcome. The way other people react to what I say and do is really just none of my damn business. Their opinion of me is none of my damn business. And I say that knowing full well I do not remember that 90% of the time. Or I remember it and then I go, yeah, but I'm still mad. And I'm entitled to feel mad. I'm entitled to have my feelings and my opinion. But also people are entitled to, not let me control them. I can't control everything. I feel like as addicts, a lot of addicts I know, it's like we want to have the final say. We want to control the situation and we think we know best. And as research-based as I am, I know that there are people in my life who are going to listen to me talk, say thank you, and then do whatever they want. And there's nothing I can do about that. It doesn't matter if my heart's in the right place or not, honestly. I just need to do the next right thing. And for me, it's not drinking, not doing drugs, eating food, going to sleep, brushing my teeth, talking to my partner, making sure we're good, calling my family members that I'm close with and making sure they're good, calling my friends, making sure they're good. And, I can't go to the protest, so, it's upsetting, but this is the part where the wisdom to know the difference comes in. I can't control the fact that, as previously mentioned on the podcast, my partner is super immunocompromised and we're in the middle of a global pandemic. I can't control that. And for me, that means letting go of going to the protests, and that's the reality. So I have to find different and more creative ways to express and stand in solidarity with what I believe is right. So in some ways, not being able to physically go to the protest has allowed me, or I guess forced me, to have to be more creative in how I show my support. And one of the suggestions that my counselor gave me this. So guys, first of all, get a counselor if you don't have one. They're great. He suggested just being there, being a support person for the folks that do go to the protests in my life. So, they probably are super emotionally drained when they come back and have lots of thoughts and need someone to tell them to. And I ideally would have the emotional capacity to be there for them and to be that debrief person. So that's one thing. The other, obviously, is giving money. You can always give money. But to research and see where the money is needed, that takes time. And lastly, there's a lot you can do on social media. And I don't mean posting a black square. I mean doing actual research. So for me, because I'm white, that means looking up what it means to be a white ally. It also means that I can just go to my Facebook page and see who's being racist and shut it down or at least comment and try and stop it. It means I can put up posts about what I know to be true, links to articles and sources. I can question people for what their sources are if they're posting ridiculous, stupid shit, which I see a lot. And I know a lot of my white friends are taking this as their cue, and I really commend them because this needed to happen a long time ago, but it's so good that it's finally happening because I get it. It's really hard, but just talking to, their uncle, grandpa, dad, whoever that's really racist, and mom, aunt, whoever, and saying like, yeah, I'm not gonna have you in my life if you're gonna talk like this. And you read a book and like zoom out and look at the bigger picture, please. But there's a lot you can say and do. You don't have to stand for it anymore. It's happening. Like this is the time you can cut toxic people out of your life. And I think that this is it. That is an act of radical activism. I feel really stupid for saying all this, honestly, y'all. Like, I feel so dumb for this episode, but I couldn't not say nothing. Like, I have so many thoughts, I can't say nothing. If I say nothing on this show, I'm complicit. And I'm not doing that today. I'm not that person today. I'm not just gonna shut up because it's more convenient. Like, no, fuck that. One thing I know is happening is this is shedding a lot of light on areas where people are ignorant and didn't even know they were ignorant. Like, a lot of people still think of racism as overt acts of violence against people for the color of their skin. They don't realize that there's covert racism, that there's subtle racism, that you can discriminate very, very, very low key. And people might not realize, like, oh, you're getting denied for a home loan in a neighborhood because you're a person of color, or you're gay, actually. The same idea of, like, if you're straight, you don't know the ways in which a gay or trans person is discriminated against because you're straight, so you'll never get it. So I'm white, I'm never gonna even begin to understand the impact that covert and subtle racism and discrimination can have on somebody's psyche. It's a collective trauma. There's a lot to it. So obviously people are angry right now. Like, they're mad angry. That you can't. I didn't watch the video because I'm good with that. Like, I watched the Eric Garner one for like a minute, and honestly, it scarred me. Like, I cannot watch it. I cannot watch violence like that. I just can't. It makes me want to throw up, honestly. And some of the intrusive memories I have are already the reasons that I used to drink and drugs. So just, obviously put yourself first, y'all. Like, keep your mental health at the forefront of your mind when you're scrolling social media, because some of these videos of shit that cops are doing to folks that are just standing there unarmed, it is hard to watch. Like, I scroll. I know, because it really makes my blood boil. It really makes my blood boil. So, yeah, obviously put your mental health first, but I think that a lot of people can't step back and see you can't step back and see what you can't see. You don't know what you don't know. So as a white person, like, I actually have to go out of my way to understand the system and to understand, like, I don't understand. Like, I mean, it is, as a teacher too, like, seeing the segregation in schools from white flight and seeing the inequality in schools. Like, I teach in a school and went to the school I teach at. So I teach in a school with metal detectors, and I'm sorry, but I never seen a black or brown student shoot up a school before. So it confuses me that our neighboring, almost all white schools don't have metal detectors. Why not? Y'all, like, those are the schools much more likely to be shot up. But that's the kind of subtle and covert, and honestly, it's a little blatant racism that comes with being an inner city kid in an inner city school. And you walk into that every day thinking, I might not be safe here. And you're in neighborhoods where it's kind of advertised that your neighborhood is unsafe. But in all reality, I've lived in some of those neighborhoods. I used to walk around and just be like, I mean, a lot of people were like, why would you do that? It's stupid. It's like, because it's not, the way the news portrays things is not always reality. Like, we have to look past the initial lens that we're given and do our own digging. And my experiences have taught me that again and again and again. I did not understand my white privilege. I was like, oh, I grew up poor and white, and, my dad's in jail, and yeah, like, and I have cousins who are mixed. Like, there's so many reasons for me to to make excuses that like, oh no, I wasn't white privileged. Like, no, like if you're white, you don't know it. That's the point. Like the point is that you don't know you have the privilege. Like I said, this episode is just gonna be a straight up rant. I don't even care if y'all skip it. I had to say something, so I'm saying it, and I'm gonna definitely regret. I know the second I drop this shit, I'm gonna regret it. And to be clear, when I say I'm gonna regret this, I don't mean I'm gonna regret speaking out for what's right. I mean I'm gonna regret having an episode that's just 30 minutes of my ass talking. Like I'm gonna put this up and be like, damn, I need to shut the fuck up. But I mean, look, if you're sober, you're an activist. Just your whole existence is fighting against the stigma that tells you that you're a fuck up and you're choosing to be immoral and this and that, and you and I know, if you're an addict like me, you know it's not a choice. You don't wake up like, oh, I'm gonna fuck up my life with drugs and alcohol. Like it's not like that at all. It's a disease. It's something you can't control. So I have to be an activist today because I can't control how angry injustice makes me, and I can't ignore it. And if I do, like, that's the kind of emotion that the more I push down and bottle it, the more it comes out in these weird, crazy ways. And ultimately, if I don't put my mental health first, I'll never be able to stay sober. So as much as I might regret talking this much, I know that I'm doing the right thing, but oh dear God, am I annoying. But let's go back to the topic at hand, which is sobriety. How am I staying sober through this? Because it's clear that I'm very activated, right? And you might be listening to this getting activated just by some of the stuff alone. Like maybe you don't agree, and that's okay. You can stay sober through it. You don't have to drink. You don't have to do drugs. In fact, I've found that since being sober, when I'm presented with uncomfortable changes in the way I perceive the world. So think whenever the way you look at the world is changed, it's really uncomfortable and you have to be able to sit in that. And I used to run away from that and not accept that like, oh, I have feelings about this. I'm angry about this. And just bottling that up over and over again. I mean, then you have what happened to me in 2017. I was arrested because I hate cops. I didn't deal with what I needed to deal with watching videos of people during Occupy Wall Street. I watched cops do some terrible things on video to people during that movement. And then a couple years later with the Michael Brown Black Lives Matter, when that first started, I watched cops do terrible things to peaceful protesters. And I carried that with me and I never like talked about it. And one night I just was like straight up blacked out, and in a lot of ways the cop, he was detaining me, but I wasn't arrested. So I was like, why am I arrested? Because if not, I'm gonna get in my Uber and leave. And he wouldn't let me, and so I straight up cussed out a cop, like in a bad way. It wasn't like a felony or anything, but then again, I'm white, so again, with my with my fucking privilege, like that could have gone so many different ways. I think in some ways though, being a very masculine presenting female, where like to the point where people honestly are just confused, and then that frustrates them. Like being confused frustrates people for sure. That's how I feel every time I try to do laundry. I think that a lot of times cops don't give me that break that you might find other white people get, because they're just like, because again, it's kind of transphobic, homophobic, where it's like something you don't understand, so you just hate it. Yeah. I don't even know what I'm talking about. So I guess I'll probably actually end up doing some editing on this, which was not the point. I'm trying to be more relaxed with myself, really holding tight on to having a perfect end product. And quite frankly, I think people just want a product, and a good one preferably, but it does not need to strive for perfection. It is exhausting, but then again, that's what we do, right, folks? Like obsessing, like that is I obsess. So let's tie it back into sobriety, just to close out here. Serenity prayer all day, every day. Put yourself and your mental health first. Self-regulate your emotions, so pay attention to how you're feeling. Talk to people, call people. Like these are the things that are working for me, I'm calling people, I'm talking to them. I'm talking right now. This shit is therapy right here. Shit. Start a podcast and fucking talk. There's my advice to stay sober. But doing the hard work, so understanding that you might be feeling really weird inside and having a lot of realizations, and in some ways as much as it sucks, I personally, I know I gotta be grateful that I'm even able to feel at all. So maybe I'm feeling uncomfortable, but guess what? I'm freaking feeling it. I'm not shoving it down and it's not coming out 7 years later and then I'm in handcuffs. I'm actually doing the work today. I'm not going to sit and stew in my misery. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do something about it today. There was actually a couple of days where I had to stew a little. Hey, a little bit of stewing, I don't know. I definitely could have done more reaching out sooner. I think for the first week, I was just refusing to look at my phone. And I was like hashtag triggered. Like, I was like, good, I'm good. I can't deal with this. If you're sober and you're just getting sober, you're mobilized and you have to keep that momentum. Like, you can start a movement in your own life. You can be the change in your own life and get people on your team, get people to rally for you. Be like, look, I need support. I want to be sober. That's what I had to do. I just, I was like, I need help. I need help that I don't even know where to start. I need help. If you're in that position today, just reach out, tell somebody where you're at. And if they don't know what to do, shoot, hit me up. I'll talk to you. Speaking of which, I do need people to be on the show. I'm looking specifically for people who want to talk to me about how everything with the protests is impacting your sobriety. And obviously, we'll still talk about how you're staying sober during COVID and everything. But I want to know, too, with this added layer of pressure from every direction, how are you doing it? I just gave my piece in this episode today. Lastly, I got to end on a high note here. I'm going to have a year sober in like 4 or 5 days, June 18th, 2020, everybody. So, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I can't even begin to explain how grateful I am. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. I'm so, so grateful. So if you're struggling today and you're not sure if you're going to push through, let me tell you, it's so worth it. Push through. I'm about to be at a year and I'm so glad I didn't give up. I was overcome with emotion this morning. I was crying. I was like, I can't believe that I'm the person I am today, considering the person I was last year, considering the person I was for all those years prior, I have my shit together, and I'm not even trying to, I have so much work to do, but it's just I know I can do it now, and I can do it without drinking, and I can do it without Adderall and all the other vices I had, and I can do it. Hit me up on Instagram, Twitter. You can email me soberduringcrisis@gmail.com. You can tell me in a couple lines how you're staying sober and how you're staying sane. Tell me your thoughts on this episode. Should I do more of these? Should I absolutely never do this again and delete it? I probably won't delete it, but next episode is going to return to normal programming. We still need to talk about how we're staying sober and sane today. So I know for me, I'm just not going to pick up no matter what. Take care of yourselves. Peace.